Bro, he cannot keep getting away with this. I don't understand how in these last 3 to 4 fights, Dracus du Plessis has been pulling out these wins, especially this last fight against Izzy. I don't know how the hell that happened, but that was wild. I heard Dana White say after that fight that Dracus du Plessis fights like a white guy dances. It's awkward, but it's effective. I like that description. I saw somebody else online say that Dracus du Plessis fights like a gorilla on roller skates. That's another good one. We're going to talk about that fight in a little bit here. I'm going to go over the prelims and the early prelims first, as I normally do. I apologize for not getting this video out a little bit sooner. I like to put out these breakdowns the day after the pay-per-views, but I unfortunately lost my voice. You can kind of still hear it a little bit. I lost my voice on the weekend. I wasn't even watching the fights with anyone. I was alone, but I was just yelling at my TV that much during that main event that, yeah, somehow I lost my voice. So I'm getting the video out now, so my apologies. But yeah, we're going to run through these early prelims pretty quickly, and then I'll spend more time on that main card and that main event because what an awkward fight. But the fight, or the night kicked off with a flyweight bout between Stuart Nickel and Jesse Aguilar. Both me and Hunter had picked Jesse Aguilar to win. He's a really, really fun Mexican flyweight. And he said at the end of this fight that he wants to wait till March to fight of next year. But I want to see that man in there right away because I think he deserves a ranked opponent next. He got a submission in the first round, a beautiful guillotine. And yeah, I'm really pumped to see what Jesse Aguilar does next. Hopefully, we don't have to wait till March to see him back in there. But next up, we had a welterweight bout between Song Kinyan and Ricky Glenn. I think me and Hunter both picked Ricky Glenn. Unfortunately, he did lose, but Song Kinyan put on a brilliant performance. It was a really fun fight to watch. Then we had a lightweight bout between Tom Noland and Alex Reyes. That is Dominic Reyes' younger brother. He lost. Tom Nolan was a minus 1,200 favorite, and he's an up-and-coming prospect. I believe he's only 24, 25 years old. And yeah, he got it done pretty decisively there. Then we had a featherweight bout between Jack Jenkins and Herbert Burns. Now, this was the first fight where me and Hunter kind of differed on our views. Hunter took Herbert Burns. I took Jack Jenkins. In this case, I got it correct. Jack Jenkins got a knockout in the third round. It was a really, really fun fight to watch. And yeah, happy for Jack Jenkins in that one. Then we had a women's flyweight bout where Casey O'Neill put an absolute dominating performance on Luana Santos, and I did not see that one coming. Neither did Hunter. We had both picked Santos going into that because Casey O'Neill was coming off a couple losses. I said in my predictions, like, I really wanted her to get a win because she's only 25, 26. She's still pretty young, and I feel like she has a lot of potential in the women's flyweight division. So this was a brilliant performance by her. I believe one judge gave her a 10-8 round, so just awesome fight for her. Then we had a featherweight bout between Josh Culibao and Ricardo Ramos. Ricardo Ramos got that done by split decision. I believe I took Ramos and Hunter took Culibao, but it was a very close fight. And then we had a heavyweight bout between Tafa and Walter Walker. Now, this was a weird fight. Me and Hunter both took Tafa. Tafa had his moments throughout the fight, but at the end of that first round, weird submission. It was a heel hook, but the way he got it, he rolled through it like 3 or 4 times, and I think it pissed Junior Tafa off. Like, he thought that he was trying to like completely damage his leg, and Junior Tafa was like throwing a punch at him after the fight. They seemed to be a little bit bitter about the ending of that fight there. So weird kind of heavyweight fight, but good for Walter Walker. He is the brother of Johnny Walker, for those of you who didn't know, and I hope he does good things in the heavyweight division. It was cool to see a heel hook at heavyweight. And then we get into the main card, which everybody wants to hear about. This was an awesome main card. Almost every fight delivered. Basically every fight delivered. The Jairzinho fight was still pretty fun to watch. But first up, we had the welterweight bout between Li Chi Liang and Carlos Prates. And unfortunately, I saw this one coming. Prates got a performance of the night for knocking out Li Chi Liang in the second round. And I know some people have seen online that the fight call was perfect there because just 1 second before Li Chi Liang got knocked out, John Anik was like, Leach has never been knocked out before. And then literally 1 second after, he gets knocked out and flatlined. And it sucks to see because I'm a big fan of the Leach. But that Carlos Prates, man, he's a monster at welterweight. He's super lanky, and he's got power in his hands. He could put anybody out. So be on the watch for that guy. And then we had a heavyweight bout between Tai Tuivasa and Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and this went exactly how me and Hunter predicted it. Jairzinho just stayed on the outside, picked him apart, and it was absolute domination, one-way traffic. Tai Tuivasa had his moments. He got some punches in there for sure. There was a judge who called it for Tai, who I believe was removed immediately after that fight. I believe they didn't even wait for the other fights to be over. They just removed that judge immediately. I believe that's what happened because somebody gave Tai Tuivasa this fight, and there's no way you could call this for Tai Tuivasa. I'm a big fan of Tai, but there is no way you could have called this fight for Tai Tuivasa. Jairzinho Rozenstruik definitely won it. So this being a split decision doesn't really reflect well on the fight. Jairzinho dominated. And then we had a lightweight bout, which was the fight of the night. It won fight of the night as well. It was Gamrot versus Dan Hooker. Back and forth bout. Honestly, I did score it for Dan Hooker. I'm not going to lie and be like, oh, I thought maybe Gamrot won. I thought Dan Hooker did do enough to squeeze that one out, but it was an amazing fight. I'd love to see it ran back, and I don't think it takes any stock away from Gamrot. I thought that was a great fight. He stood with Hooker really when maybe he shouldn't have at times, and he made it a really fun fight for people who said, Gamrot's a decision merchant, and he always has boring fights. You can't say that anymore because he put on an absolute fight of the night, one of the most fun fights I've seen all year, so shout out to Dan Hooker, man. Back in the top 5 now, I believe. I really, really want to see him fight with Gaethje. I want to see him fight with Max Holloway. I want to see that Holloway fight be 10 rounds, honestly, because they could both do 10 rounds. Those guys could stand in there for maybe even 15 rounds. Throw those guys in there for 10 and let them swing it out. But yeah, I'm happy to see Dan Hooker back in the top 5. And then we had a flyweight bout between Kai Kara-France and Steve Erceg, which got another performance of the night for Kai Kara-France for knocking out Steve in the first round. Man, I said it going in. I'm cheering for Steve. I want Steve to win. I like the guy. But Kai Kara-France, you can't mess with him on the feet. He's fast. He's technical, and he throws punches from weird angles, and he caught Steve bad. He knocked him down once and then knocked him down again and finished him off. And yeah, not great for Steve, obviously, but I think this win will age well for Kai. I think Steve's going to come back stronger than ever. I think he'll go back on a winning streak. I think Steve will rebound from this pretty well. But yeah, awesome for Kai. I hope Kai can go on a run and add to this good win and maybe get back at a title picture, because it's tough sometimes to match Kai Kara-France up with people at flyweight, being that he has, I think, more than 10 losses. Quite a few of those are in the UFC as well. So I know he's been in the UFC since he was pretty young, but it makes it hard sometimes to match you up with people when you've lost to so many guys in the UFC. But I hope he goes on another run because he's a super exciting fighter. And then we had the championship middleweight title bout between Dricus du Plessis and Israel Adesanya. So let's talk about this one. This is the one you guys are all here for, I'm sure. Yeah, what an odd fight. So first round was very close. I saw some people scoring it for Dricus, some people scoring it for Izzy. I honestly think whichever way you score it, you're not wrong. To be honest with you, I think it was that close where I wouldn't be mad if you scored it for Dricus. I personally had it for Izzy. I thought he was landing some body shots in those first round, and just some of his, especially kicks to the body, just made a little bit more noise to me, and they just seemed to be doing a slightly more damage. But that first round was neck and neck. Really, you could score it either way. And that seems to be the big deciding factor, whether or not people thought Dricus was winning the fight going up until the finish, or Izzy was winning the fight going up until the finish. But I had Izzy winning the first round. Second round obviously was Dricus's round. He took Izzy down, pretty much dominated him the whole round. There was about 30 seconds there where Izzy did get back up to the feet and do some damage. But for the most part, Dricus was chasing a plethora of different submissions. And the takedowns in that second round were effective, but odd. Dricus is the only fighter in the UFC I've ever seen land a takedown by just face planting into the guy's calves with your face, and then somehow they go down. I don't know. The one takedown he had against Robert Whittaker as well was just really, really weird and not technical, but somehow worked. And it seems to be that way a lot with Dricus's wrestling. He just manhandles people. It's like a really, really jacked kid going into the wrestling room with no idea how to wrestle, but still manhandling people just by doing weird pickups and stuff. I don't know how it's effective, but it is. And he got Izzy down and he kept him down for most of that second round. In the third round, though, different story. From the second round on, it seemed like Dreykus's gas tank was just shot. And we've seen this before. We've seen this in quite a few fights where it seems like there's a hole in his gas tank, like he's got no gas left, like there's a leak or something. But the engine just still keeps going somehow. He never quits, even when he has no gas, even when every single strike, every single takedown, everything he does seems labored. He still keeps going, which is so weird, but props to him. He kept going. That third round, though, I thought Izzy definitely won that round. I don't think you could score that for Dreykus at all. Izzy was finding these beautiful body hooks, and he was doing amazing work to the body because Dreykus keeps such a high guard. You know, DC was saying at the entire broadcast that Dreykus always has his hands up, and Izzy recognized that. He started going to the body. He started, investing, putting water in the basement, and it was starting to pay off. Like, Dreykus was looking really labored. He couldn't really shoot takedowns. Izzy was stuffing them, and it looked like Izzy was winning the fight. And then the fourth round comes, and again, Izzy's like winning the fight. He's outstriking, outclassing Dreykus. He goes in, he lands a couple beautiful body hooks, guard down, like body hooks, and then he leans back, and Dreykus is just swinging for the fences, missing punches by like feet. And you're like, Izzy's going to win this fight. And then I don't know what happened. To be honest, I got to go back and rewatch this fight a couple times. But I don't know what happened. I feel like Izzy tripped. I think that's why he was pointing to the ground. That's at least what he said in the post-fight press conference. Some people think that he was trying to do Max Holloway, like, yo, let's fight. I don't know what was happening there. That's what I thought initially too, but you have to take Izzy for his word as well. I don't know. It seemed like he tripped there, and then he was back on his feet, and then he did definitely get rocked with a couple shots. And Dreykus only needs one shot to rock you. And then Izzy was on skates. Dreykus takes him down, and then literally 15 seconds later, the fight's over. He gets the choke in, and it's done. And it was so weird to see him manhandle Izzy like that, like to have that strength to pull him to the ground, throw the choke on, and the choke's just, it's like done. Like there's no fighting the hands, there's no struggling with the choke for 30 seconds. It's done. Like to see that strength from Dreykus, even though he looked incredibly labored, he looked like his gas tank was just shot in the third and fourth round. I don't understand this fighter. I'm telling you, like I saw Izzy winning the fight up until that finish, and I'm like, he's starting to make a gap here. He's starting to pull away. And then out of nowhere, like literally out of nowhere, like it was a fluke or something. And I don't want to discredit Dreykus because I'm a big fan of Dreykus. I'll get to that in a second. But fluky kind of win there, just pulls it out of his ass. And I don't understand how he's doing it. So I really, really liked Dreykus off the mic. I liked everything he said going into the fight. I thought the fact that he was able to make Sean and Izzy cry is just hilarious. I like the way he fights too. He fights with this tenacity and this grit that you don't usually see. But from a technical standpoint, I can't break Dreykus down yet. I want to be able to say that this is like an organized confusion, like the way Fedor fights or the way Malakin fights, in ONE FC. They have this kind of organized confusion about them where they're throwing mostly overhands and hooks, but they're calculated. And I don't see that from Dreykus because he misses punches, but like I said, feet. And he's super off balanced when he throws certain punches, and his takedowns, like I said, sometimes he's like leading with his face, not even his hands. It's really weird. So from a technical aspect, I can't really break him down yet. I might have to go back and rewatch his fights, or I might just have to see him fight a few more times in the future. But he's one of those champions right now where I'm like, he could and should lose his next fight. Like, I don't understand how he's going to win his next fight. He can't keep getting away with this. But at the same time, like, the next fight is Sean. And looking back on that Sean fight, that is the one fight where you can kind of be like, okay, Dreykus, he didn't win that so much by fluke because he just kind of had a weird game plan that worked. In that fight, Sean seemed to be doing everything that Sean does, jab, check the leg kick, and then throw a brutal overhand, and then hopefully that gets the job done. It does get the job done against quite a few people because that is a hard style to deal with if you don't know how to work around it. Dreykus just seemed to say, okay, I'm going to throw roundhouse kicks and overhands, and they're going to look super awkward, but they're going to somehow get around Sean's guard. And that worked. The takedowns that he got in that fight, again, kind of awkward takedowns, but they worked. And he did squeeze that win out over Sean. I've watched that fight, I think, 2 or 3 times now, and I do think, Dricus did win that fight, although it was close. And if that fight gets remade, I feel like it goes the same way. I just don't think Sean has enough abilities to beat these top level guys. I know he's beaten Izzy. I know he's beaten Dricus, but I don't know. Sean's weird to me because he has a very one-dimensional style. It's very, jab, jab, check the leg kick, throw a brutal overhand, throw a head kick, scream at your opponent in the last 10 seconds. I don't think it's going to be enough to stay champ, and I don't think what Dricus has is going to be enough to stay champ. And it's a little bit aggravating as a fight fan too, when you remember what it was like when Chimaev first came here and he fought 2 times in the span of like 10 days or something. And we're like, my God, this guy's going to be a 3 division champ and he's going to be super active. And now, he's had like 2 fights in the last 5 years or some ridiculous stat like that. And it's really frustrating because as somebody who wrestles and who loves wrestling in the UFC, I can just look at Chimaev and I'm like, this guy is going to absolutely maul Dricus, Izzy, and Sean. But he still has the Robert fight because he's been getting violently ill every time he has a fight. I don't understand that at all. But if Chimaev can get his stuff together, if he gets the win over Robert Whittaker, I think he's going to clear up this middleweight division of these awkward strikers. Not to say that like Izzy's an awkward striker, but he's starting to get to that point now. He had moments in that Dricus fight where you're like, I feel like you can finish him, but now you're running away from him. I don't know if it's age. I don't know if Izzy's heart's not in it anymore. I don't know what it is, but that Izzy, there was times in that fight where I'm like, that's not the Izzy I remember. There's no killer instinct that was in that Pereira fight or in the first Robert Whittaker fight. It's sad to see, it's sad to see guys get old, but yeah, weird fight. I don't know what else to say about it. Very, very odd fight. You guys can let me know down in the comments if you guys have a different angle or perspective of how that fight went down or what Dricus' style is or how it works. Maybe you guys are seeing something that I don't, but he's very, very awkward to me, and I don't really understand how he's winning so far. We'll see in his next fight. I know it's probably going to be Sean. I'd rather see Robert Whittaker. You guys might disagree, but I feel like Robert Whittaker taking on late-minute replacement, a killer. Ikram, I know the way he lost doesn't make him look like a killer, but he is a killer. And for Robert Whittaker to finish that guy in the first round and for, Sean to go to a boring decision with Costa, I just feel like Whittaker should get the shot, but we'll see. We'll see if Whittaker can get past Chimaev. That's going to be a big test. Big test for both guys. If Chimaev can get through Whittaker, I think he's definitely the real deal. And then, me as a wrestling fan, I'm just waiting for Bo because I know that if Bo fights smart and he doesn't strike with people, he's going to slaughter everybody at 185, even Chimaev. Like, I'm a big fan of Chimaev. I love how violent he is and how he uses his wrestling, but Bo is going to mop him. He's going to mop everybody in the division once he gets there. So hopefully he gets, a couple fights soon and we can see Bo kind of crack into that top 15. But for those of you who know, Bo is going to be a big, big problem, especially for these kickboxers. So yeah, we'll see how 185 plays out. It's kind of my least favorite division right now. It seems pretty weak, especially in like the top 10, but really, really fun fight. I can't say that Izzy Dricus fight wasn't fun. It was tremendously fun to watch. Like I said, I was screaming at my television the whole fight. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Share this with your friends. It helps boost this channel and the algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to break down the Sphere card in about 4 or 5 days here, so stay tuned for that. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.